If you're just tuning in, and you should be because I just started the show, the Denver Nuggets. Oh boy, the Denver Nuggets have fired head coach Michael Malone and general manager Calvin Booth with just a couple games left in the NBA season with a winning record, with the Nuggets getting ready to go into the playoffs. There's a lot of people in the Nuggets sphere who will tell you that they saw this coming. I didn't. This blindsided me. But today I'm bringing in a special guest to help me discuss this because the important question here isn't whether or not firing Michael Malone was the right move for the Denver Nuggets. The important question, and what we're going to get to today, is how does firing Michael Malone affect LeBron James' legacy? You're watching That's Good Sports, you stupid fuck. Oh boy, that was a long setup for a LeBron James ESPN joke, wasn't it, guys? All right. I said I have a guest, a special guest. He's special to me. You guys probably know him from our Broncos podcast, from every single video we write here. It is Will Keys, who actually knows quite a bit more about basketball than me.
Arguably, it's marginal. I have a very long history, I think, with Michael Malone and firing coaches. Michael, so I can tell you a little bit about how it goes.
I always forget that Malone coached your team, the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah. It's and we chose DeMarcus Cousins over him, and then traded Cousins about 2.5 years later, without making the playoffs within that entire stretch. Yeah, people around here point to Malone as the one that got away.
Ooh.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, because he's been the best coach in the history of the Denver Nuggets, I think is safe to say.
Yeah, I think he's the most
only championship.
Yeah, he's the only coach that got Denver a championship. Obviously, Jokic is a huge part of that. You wonder, like, okay, Jokic is in the MVP conversation every year. Could any coach with Jokic? Probably. We talk about that a lot in the NFL. Head coaches and quarterbacks, that pairing, that marriage.
Is he a system center?
Yeah, he's 100% a system center.
Also, do you think that Stan Kroenke did this to give Jokic a little leg up in the MVP race at the very end of the season? If he goes off for 50, 60 without Malone, he proves he's not a system center.
Ooh, I think he's got to score 62 and get the win.
Yeah, the win's probably pretty important.
Yeah. And that's what's crazy, right? That's like the timing of this is odd. But the Nuggets are they've lost 4 in a row. They had back-to-back losses where the end of the game basically came down to Russell Westbrook making a mistake. That was the difference. They haven't had Jamal Murray. I think if Jamal Murray's healthy, Michael Malone doesn't get fired now. Maybe they make these changes after the season. And basically everything I'm reading is saying, like, this was going to happen no matter what, which seems kind of like a bold thing to say. But you fire your head coach, then you fire your general manager. I think if Jamal Murray's healthy, they don't lose all 4 of these games. And probably this is delayed. But the thinking here by Josh Kroenke is this will provide a spark going into the playoffs. Also don't know if that's going to work or if that's true. And how long does a spark like that last when you get into the playoffs, right? When everything gets harder, how much longer does that last?
Yeah, it's got to last a couple months.
I don't know. I don't know, like, how much truth there is to the idea that, like, your team can play more loosely and have more fun just by getting rid of the coach. And maybe that's true for a few games, but, like, this isn't going to win them a championship.
No,
this is resetting early. This is resetting what they were going to do early. So that's kind of crazy. I want to get a lot more of your thoughts on the whole thing. The Phoenix Suns are officially the Dallas Cowboys of the NBA. Lots of talent, overhyped to hell, and back with a terrible coach, only to miss the playoffs. Where's my bleach? I don't know what you're talking about, James. I'm talking about the Nuggets today. I hope your Suns get better. So this was Shams breaking the news, and he's got your basic information here. So I'm just going to play that, and then we'll go from there.
Exciting to do this now.
That's the biggest component to this, is you're days away from the NBA playoffs beginning. And my understanding is they felt kind of like the Grizzlies did with the departure of Taylor Jenkins, is igniting this team. They've lost 4 games in a row. They're now in the bottom half in the league in defensive rating. And so they felt like the signs were there that this season was not going to end well. And if you were going to make this decision at the end of the season to let go of Michael Malone and Calvin Booth and do a full reset, they're getting out ahead of what they felt they were going to do come the offseason. And between Michael Malone and Calvin Booth had really managed this team around young players the last couple years after winning that championship, saving money for ownership. They had saved, millions and millions of money in terms of tax.
Millions and millions of money. Nice.
Over the last couple of years. And from Michael Malone's perspective, he's been trying to win a championship, building around win now players with Nikola Jokic. So the fabric and what both sides had philosophically, there were some big differences.
Yeah, okay. I think it's safe to say there were philosophical differences between Calvin Booth and Michael Malone.
I love the way they put that. Like, it's clearly 2 guys that hate each other. And so we have philosophical differences. It's the most, the biggest PR spin for guys that are just like beefing clearly.
Yeah, I think I got a bunch of tweets here. That was pretty prominent, that Booth and it was never a secret that they didn't really like each other. Talked behind each other's backs. So if you're going to blame 2 people for this, start with Booth and Malone for being grown men who can't get along.
Yeah.
I feel like you can figure out, like, if you have philosophical differences,
you can merge philosophy.
At this level, it's like somebody's got to keep their ego in check. Both of you have to, right?
Yeah.
And when you win a championship as a head coach, I think it becomes harder to make those concessions because you've done the thing, right? And you did it the way that you wanted to do it. And it's just so insane when you see a guy like Malone, who brought the Denver Nuggets their first championship. We didn't know if we'd ever see it. And then he gets fired. But then you see a whole bunch of coaches got fired pretty shortly recently after winning championships with their teams. I'm sure there's different stories behind all of these. And I think like the closest NFL comp we kind of have in recent memory is Doug Peterson getting fired a couple years, after the Eagles won. It worked out there.
And that was a scenario where they had made the playoffs a couple times after winning the Super Bowl and had his first losing season, I think, in 2020 since, 2017, and taking that last Sunday night game, getting fired less than 24 hours later. So it's not like they were, not like he made the playoffs and got fired. This is, I think Shams said it at some point, the latest a team has fired their coach in the season. And that happened 1981 at the Atlanta Hawks. They were 31-48. Nuggets are going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen in really any sport. Things must have just hit this crazy breaking point, and it sounds like I don't know if we've gotten to it, but him calling out the players for not watching enough film, working hard enough, what have you. It sounds like he might have just burned all of his bridges because he's an intense guy, and sometimes you, regardless of how good you are, it's so rare that coaches last over a decade.
Yeah, and he just kind of
eventually,
crossed that mark, right?
I think so, yeah. And the strange part of it is that he did win, 2 years ago. But at the same time, like, eventually you have a lot of the same players in the building and your message doesn't resonate anymore after a certain amount of time. So
Yeah,
that's why the Popoviches of the world are so scarce.
and oddly enough, somebody tweeted that keep an eye on Malone for being Greg Popovich's replacement eventually in San Antonio.
Yeah.
I
can
know
see
Malone and Pop have a good relationship, but this is the clip you're talking about, and this was from about a month ago. I think it highlights like who Michael Malone is a coach pretty well.
that. Mhm.
I think each guy's got to look themselves in the mirror and start coming to each respective game with the proper mindset and have some pride. I didn't think we played with any pride tonight. I really care. It's not my job to evaluate how they take things. My job is to be honest and sometimes brutally honest. And tonight, it was a brutally honest message. And the guys that are full of shit won't hear it. They'll say coach is tripping. And the guys that maybe do really care will, because they're not going to go back and watch their minutes, because nobody watches their minutes. Nobody watches film. So we'll have to show them the film. And I said, if somebody disagrees with me, please speak up. And nobody said a word. So again, I'm not really concerned with how they took that message. My thing is being honest with how we just played.
Yeah. How bad it has to get inside the locker room for that to get out to the press? Like, that was building up over time. Clearly.
Yeah. And part of me, though, like, appreciates that in a coach. And part of me thinks that's what you kind of want in your head coach. Outside of, you want a guy who's going to be hard on, or not necessarily hard on the players, but truthful, even when the truth is shit. And when he says it's not his job to care about how the players take it, that's not entirely true.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that.
I think in certain situations, in terms of the team as a whole, and when you're trying to make messages in the name of winning, I think that's fair. But I think it is a coach's job to kind of identify what things certain players gravitate to in terms of how you coach. And just because you coach a certain way for your best player like Jokic, which I think like like we were talking about before the show, like I don't think there's a way you can coach Jokic too hard. He's
probably not.
I don't think there's a way you can do that. So separating how you can work with him versus other guys, especially young guys coming in, I think you have to adjust and adapt to those things.
Yeah.
But I think this is more of an issue with the disconnect between him and Calvin Booth and not bringing in the kinds of players who do gravitate to a guy like Michael Malone. He wanted KCP to stay. They didn't bring him back. That was like kind of like the last piece of, I think, a guy who probably would have continued to want to play with Malone and his coaching style. And you want more of those guys in your locker room, or else you get to this point where it's late in the season, you lose a handful of games, you have one of your second best players been hurt, and now like everything just looks kind of like a mess.
Yeah, it's so rare that this mess is at this point in the season, checking into the playoffs in a tight West with an interim head coach who's never coached an NBA game.
Yeah.
They're not getting to, they're not pulling the team over to an experienced guy. I mean, David Adelman, his dad is a legendary NBA coach for two franchises, but still never. He's going to coach like 3 games or however many it is, and then he's right in the playoffs.
Yeah, I almost got this just made me laugh. Poor Rocky. Rocky couldn't handle this news. I think we're all surprised by the news. Did I like this tweet? Oh my god. I almost got this one, yeah. This one almost got me because I didn't read who the tweet was from. The Zodiac GM. Like Dave Adelman, synergy fit A+. I'm like, okay, that's a positive thing. David connects exceptionally well with the entire roster, particularly the core players. Oh, great. As a Taurus, I was like, oh fuck. Oh, I got. But yeah, I mean, I think the writing was on the wall in that something with the Nuggets is off. Jokic is playing out of his fucking mind. They're still losing games. Outside of Murray not being on the court with them, their defense, terrible. And they weren't able to close out all these close games recently. And I recap. One of them was so infuriating. I had to do a recap on it. And everybody here knows I mostly, almost exclusively just talk about football. Will and I only make football videos. That game had me up till 11:30. It stressed me the fuck out. I couldn't sleep afterwards. It's like, screw it. I'm going to make a video about it because the way that game ended was crazy. And It was crazy to watch Jokic score 61 points, get a triple-double, and lose. And I think it's also like signing Westbrook and the little I've watched, I can see why that was probably not the move to help this team actually be a contender, right? Like, with any good he does, there's bad. And it's almost like there's always good and bad in the same game in back-to-back plays. Like
yeah, I'm trying to think of like a quarterback comparison almost.
It would be a cool.
It's a little Favrean.
Yeah, I guess Favrean, and he's older now. He's
got the MVPs in his past.
Yeah, role player. It's all that stuff.
Indeed, it has.
It is wild. The NBA is wild. This is a wild move to make right before the playoffs. Maybe it helps them win a series. I don't fucking know. And they play the Kings, your team, tomorrow. Will?
Yeah, they're coming to Sacramento. The parallels are many. Michael Malone, former Kings coach. You got David Adelman, son of a former Kings coach, and they're probably gonna figure it out in Sacramento, I would imagine.
Yeah, they'll figure it all out there. This is the new formula that works for the Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, you test it out against the Kings, against the 39-40 team. A little soft landing before the playoffs.
Yeah. What do the Nuggets have 47 wins right now? Is that where they're at?
Yeah, they're 47-32.
Yeah. I think like there's two things that I think there's only two important things here for me. And if you're a Nuggets fan that you want to know, it's like the first one was Jokic okay with this move?
Yeah.
Jokic, like we've watched LeBron long enough where we know coaching changes have happened because that's kind of like what he wanted. We've seen that with other star players. I don't think Jokic is a guy who went to ownership and said, we got to make a change, right?
Yeah, and it's such like a risky thing. They must have consulted him very heavily because it feels like Jokic is the kind of guy where if you press the wrong button with him,
yeah,
like, well, I'll just retire and go back to Serbia and ride horses.
Yeah, like I said, like
it's a fragile thing.
After a win, after a loss, it's hard to tell like whether he actually cares.
Yeah,
he just plays his ass off, and then once the game's over, it's like he just wants nothing to do with that basketball game ever again. And I thought I liked the two tweets that were like, what was it? The firing doesn't happen without the okay from Jokic. Jokic was informed of the decision earlier today before it was announced. He had not requested a change. So, you probably got to get the okay from him, but I don't think it's something he wanted. How okay he is with it, I think, is the most important thing, because if he was like, yeah, let's make a change, then fine. I don't care who you bring in. Personally, I think it'd be nice to have given the guy who you won a championship with more time, and with a new GM that he was on the same page with. And I think every head coach deserves to be on the same page with their general manager, because if those two aren't working together, you're fucked. That's any sport. That's not just basketball.
Oh, same thing happened to the Kings earlier this year too, and they fired Mike Brown, who did the Sacramento equivalent of winning a championship, which is getting to the playoffs for the first time.
Yeah. That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then he doesn't get along. Who knows? There's this big triangle between Monty McNair and Mike Brown and Vivek Ranadive, the owner, and it feels like more often than not the head coach is the one to go, or someone gets scapegoated.
Yeah,
and it is strange. They both just went out at the same time. It feels like two parents that are like really, really don't love each other anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, can we just like wait to get divorced until our kids graduate high school?
Yeah.
It feels like it's the last week of school, and just like, no, I can't even wait. I can't wait for the season to be over.
It's the last week of school in your senior year.
Yeah.
And we're telling you now we're getting divorced, and
mm-hmm.
we will have Dad will be in his apartment next week.
Dad's going to be in the worst apartment you've ever seen, with vertical shades on the windows.
Your summer here is going to suck. Sorry. Also, the pool is closed for the summer at Dad's apartment.
Yeah. I got a new boyfriend. His name is David Adelman. You already know him.
Yeah. So that's it. If Jokic is okay making a change, then fine. Whatever. The other question is, you got to find a new head coach and a new GM. And so much of this, I think, now is happening because Denver didn't make the right effort to keep Tim Connelly back in 2022 when he left for Minnesota, right?
Mm-hmm.
Connelly's the one who built all the key pieces of this current Nuggets team. He drafted Jokic, he drafted Murray. It's so much of his work. And then Booth came in. He was the assistant GM with Connelly, and then put a couple of those pieces together. KCP, Bruce Brown, and the Nuggets won. And you're hoping that you're able to find somebody who can continue to have that foresight, because if you're going to look at current Nugget problems, it's okay. Aaron Gordon was last the guy that Tim Connelly brought in before he left. And Gordon, Murray, Jokic, you're not winning without those players. They're the most important players on the team. And now you wonder, how do you find somebody that's comparable to Connelly, and how do you find another really good head coach? Does it matter when you have Jokic? Probably somewhat, but
it probably matters more.
Yeah,
because you've got the stars, you've got the core, and the difference between a 47-win team and a 57-win team is the guys you put around them.
Yeah,
and health, of course, is a factor. And with Jamal Murray, that feels like that's always going to be total luck of the draw.
Yeah.
But I think it's more important when you have that star is not just getting guys, but getting the right guys that make sense with them on the court. Yeah,
you want to build a perfect roster continually.
I think in basketball,
building that doesn't mean spending a ton of money on overpriced free agents. It's just making sure. What's that?
The Suns, for example.
Yeah.
You go out and get Kevin Durant. Like, well, this is going to work. Basketball, unlike football, you can't just go out and be like, all right, we need a wide receiver and we need an offensive line. We're going to add the best wide receiver available and the best offensive line available. It's like, no, these guys, like, they have to fit. It's more pieces of a puzzle and like how they work with each other. And not everybody's a fit in terms of play style. And I feel like the Jokic offense especially runs on a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And a lot of reps.
Gives trust in you as a player.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not an easy thing to find. So I think it's very, very important who the GM is. So the difference between potentially getting back to the finals and being a first, second round exit.
Yeah. And I think like a lot of people want to say they're firing Malone because it's starting to feel like he's wasting Jokic's prime. That's hard to say just 2 years after you actually won. You won the championship for the first time in the franchise's history. I think it's officially not a waste. I think people forget how hard it is to actually win championships. I think you can believe that Jokic is the type of talent you should win multiple championships with. And this is probably the move to try and do that. And maybe you believed, if you're Josh Kroenke, moving forward, Malone's not going to make this team better. He might keep it the same, and that's pretty damn good. But like, you're willing to take that risk on finding a different coach to try and get to that next level. And then, like you're saying, you want to put the right pieces in. And you bring up a good point about like it being more important with Jokic because he put so much trust in the guys around him. And because of the way he plays, it's not just like trusting those guys in a way that somebody who scores a ton of points does. He's a guy who facilitates so much, right? Like if he trusts you, that means you're getting opportunities to score. You
have to be a guy who's ready to get a behind the back pass cutting to the rim at any given moment.
You got to know when he's not looking at you, a pass is coming right to you, because if you don't,
turnover.
You're fucked.
That's what makes him so special as a player. Jordan Travis.
Oh yeah, I don't know any of this. Let's see here. The QB Jordan Travis.
Oh, Deron Holmes is the center that they drafted out of Dayton last year.
Okay. Will Keys is back. That is the breaking news. Thank you, Dick Cheese. Thank you, Dick Cheese.
Dicky Cheese. Just when you thought he was out, Dick Cheese is back.
He's back with the super chat. Oh yeah, there was a list of the Calvin Booth moves. Losing Bruce Brown, that was tough for Nuggets fans, and then losing KCP, that was also tough. And then losing KCP, and then your answer being, Russell Westbrook, that was also tough. It's hard though. The Nuggets are in this weird position where like you get fired right before the playoffs with a winning record. That's just, it's bizarre. The franchise has these crazy high expectations now because Jokic is so good. But like the high of winning the championship still kind of carries weight. Like it feels like, okay, we won it. And if you do want to do this drastic change right now, even if it seems a little crazy, I think people are going to be okay with it. Even if you also believe Michael Malone is a really good coach who probably shouldn't have been fired.
Yeah, and it goes back to, I think, what we were talking about earlier. It's just like, you don't find a lot of Steve Kerrs and Greg Popovich's who don't really wear out their welcome after a decade.
Yeah.
But this is the normal lifespan of a very good head coach, is a 10-year or so tenure. A decade.
Yeah, that's a nice run.
It's just the timing's weird, is what it is. Like if they underachieved and they lost in the first round with Malone or even the second round, I don't think anybody would be shocked if this news happened in May or June.
No, or like, right after the playoffs. Does Calvin Booth kind of look like Nick Sirianni to you?
With one slight difference. It's because he doesn't have any
bald
hair.
head?
Yeah.
Is it the bald head?
It's the bald head.
Somebody said Nicolas Cage.
I see that a little bit. Yeah.
I saw Nick Sirianni first, but anyway, I thought that was really important, and I wanted to make sure we covered it before. Don't forget, today's episode sponsored by Underdog. I was going to post some Underdog picks, and I was going to be going I was going to go probably lower on Jokic because he's been so hot lately. And I was thinking about this morning, and I was going to post him to the YouTube community tab. And I was like, you know what? He's just been on such a tear. They're probably going to have his stat totals super high. I was like, I bet he gets a little bit lower than that. And we see some more from the guys around him. And then this firing happened, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to pick for NBA picks yet. But I will make a post about that later, probably tomorrow now. When
once we figure out everything.
I think they're going to reevaluate what the Nuggets stat lines might be after this. I will get those up. But you got to use my code. That's good when you sign up at Underdog. Let me see how many signups we are away from 6,000 signups, because it's 6,000 signups if you want to play daily fantasy or in these pick'em games. We've got 5,645. So we are 3,055 signups away from 6,000. At 6,000 signups, I get an insane bonus. And I already told you guys, Will Keys gets $6,000 of that bonus. Johnny Barks gets $6,000 of that bonus. But we got to get 355 more signups before the NFL draft at Underdog. Code That's Good. Link is in the description. Will didn't even know
that's all going to child support, by the way.
Yeah, Will has more kids than Tyreek Hill and Phillip Rivers
and Antonio Cromartie.
Ooh, where's that? I used to have a disclaimer. Where's my disclaimer? There it is. Just to be safe. Bam, 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 bam.
You've been disclaimed.
You've been disclaimed. Also, you know what? The Broncos signed a safety today. Another Franklin Jr., Will.
Yeah, go back to the well.
Yeah.
I don't really know this guy very well other than his name.
Yep. Very good at special teams from what I've seen on the 5 tweets that I've read.
Yeah.
And he had this pick 6 on old Kirk Cousins.
Oh, right. I do remember that play. Yeah.
See, you actually do remember things when you see them. I'm like, I had no recollection of that.
Yeah, that was when the Vikings. That was before Kirk got hurt in 2023.
Okay. Oh, I thought this was unfortunate too.
I guess everything was.
Yeah.
Oh.
Happy birthday, Dario. 5 hours ago, and then probably an hour after that, Dario's birthday ruined by the news that his head coach had been fired. Oh, I love birthday tweets the same day a sports organization has to make a really hard decision.
Yeah. It's like, well, you got to get that birthday tweet out first.
Yeah. Or the birthday tweet, and then the guy's like cut a day later. Or in the Lions case, the Lions, didn't they cut the dude the same day it was his birthday? And Dan Campbell's like, oh, shit, I'm sorry, I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was his birthday or something. I forget. But, yeah, Broncos added a player, but this was crazy.
Crazy stuff.
Who's going to win?
I'm actually very excited to see the Nuggets in the playoffs now. Not that it wasn't, but like, you know. I want to see like if they do get that boost.
This is usually when I start paying attention to basketball, is right in April. I catch the final few games of a season, and then I'll watch a lot of playoff basketball. I don't know what to make of this. I really don't know if it's going to help or hurt them in the playoffs. I'm assuming it might help them first series, but I think they're already in trouble anyway. I think ultimately it's probably not going to help them right now.
Like I said, they've got the Kings to figure it out against.
That's our litmus test?
Yeah, I think that's, it's a soft landing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Do you think an NBA coach is in the course of a game, how much more important are they to their team's success than an NFL head coach?
It's a really good question. I would say an NFL head coach, like the play caller types, are more important. There's kind of this theory floating around now that there's such like a wealth of talent in the NBA. There's a surplus of talent, whereas like at the quarterback position in the NFL, there's never going to be, or I don't see it, a surplus of talent where all 32 teams have a franchise quarterback, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much talent in the NBA that it's spilling out to the G League now. And so if everybody's got high level talent across the board, it's like, okay, people are going to be on a fairly even playing ground. And what pushes them over the top or sinks them is the competence of their head coach.
Okay.
So I don't know. That's just kind of a theory I've seen floated around. But in terms of in-game, yeah, I'd say a football coach is more important.
Yeah.
And you just have more people to worry about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, in an NFL game. And I think adjustments are harder to make in the NFL. I think seeing things in real time is a lot more difficult in the NFL, and it's why they got to look at so much shit, and you hope your coordinators are good in terms of seeing the things where you can make adjustments. NBA, it's right there, and it's not as complicated in terms of identifying what the other team's doing well and what you're sucking at.
Yeah, I mean, not the NBA, but in college basketball, John Wooden said, I think in one of his books, that he wanted to prepare the team so well, and usually did, that he could sit in the stands during the game and they'd still win. So that's not happening in football.
Yeah.
He had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton.
So. Yeah, I think Nathaniel Hackett wanted that as well.
Yeah. And he kind of did near the end of it. He kind of did.
I'll just sit here and watch, and somebody call the timeouts for me. Dear God, please.
Yeah, and also I'm not calling plays anymore on offense.
Yeah. Every day I wake up, LeBron James gets better, Bailey. Stronger.
Are you the same age as LeBron?
Yeah. We came out of high school, I believe, at the same year.
Wow. And you've only gotten stronger as you've gotten older.
Yeah. I would say my cardio is probably a little better than his right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think accomplishments were pretty close.
Yeah.
He probably sees a lot of things I've done, and he's very impressed. I'm not trying to take away from anything LeBron's done. I think we have the equal amount of issues with Stephen A. Smith. So, me and LeBron pretty much the same success story.
The only difference is that Carmi's not in the NBA yet.
No. She doesn't even like football yet.
Yeah.
She will be talking about football for her job. She just doesn't know it yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the people here will accept her as one of their own. Some say what I've done is more impressive because I'm 5'8" and LeBron's 6'8". So he's a foot taller than me. Everything for me is harder. Except for riding on an airplane.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
But
And I'm probably more comfortable in multiple beds. I could sleep in a twin if in a pinch.
I think he can find any bed he needs.
Actually, I would watch an overnight live stream of LeBron James sleeping in a twin bed.
Seeing what happens.
Just watch how uncomfortable. Wemby in a twin bed for one night live stream.
How about Wemby or like that freshman from Florida?
That 7'9" dude or whatever.
Yeah. How the hell do they sleep?
Yeah, the guy who's cutting the net just by standing there.
Yeah.
Dude, 7'9" is fucking insane.
You think you just get two beds and stack them? Like your room has to be long.
Yeah.
You'd run out of space in the room. You couldn't put two beds together in like a dorm room. Like, no way.
Yeah. If you are over a foot taller than LeBron James, that's insane.
You just gotta sleep standing up, I think.
Yeah.
You gotta figure that out.
Like a horse.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Or suspended downwards like Batman.
Yeah. Pablo, I hope this becomes a huge trend. I hope the team in first place from now on fires their coach right before the playoffs.
We just gotta shake it up, guys.
Yeah, it's time I'm sorry. Who's in first place? Who's OKC's head coach?
I forget his name.
Yeah, that guy fired tomorrow. Fire him.
He's got this dumbass French name. No offense to any French people. Mark. Not even gonna try.
Marc Paul Gassier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zach from Saved by the Bell.
I only know Mario Lopez.
Marc Paul Gassier. What's it? It's Marc Paul. Marc Paul Gosselaar. Gosselaar. How do you not know Zach Morris? Dear God.
He doesn't have blonde hair now.
I know.
The hell's with that? Maybe he was bleaching it when he was younger for the show.
Yeah, I'm sure they had to.
So as to not look too much like Mario Lopez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was there before Mario Lopez. People forget Mario Lopez, not even an OG cast member. They had some other kid in there for the first season.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. We just had Saved by the Bell on when we were traveling. It was like on the TV. So they went from like the first season to the college years. I was like, whoa, this is an abrupt change. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, Zach Morris
is not in jail, Blue. How dare you?
I don't know. Let's double check. Zach Morris was like the Greek chorus for the show. Yeah, he narrated the whole thing. He was the main character.
Yeah.
He broke the fourth wall.
He did.
Yeah. Not seeing any prison visits.
No, he's not. He's not in prison. He's just living his best life. He could be the next coach of the Nuggets. We don't know at this point.
He could.
He could very well be. Anyway, I think we're good. Will, you got anything left to say here?
No.
Sweet. We should be back soon with the Broncos pod. Draft is coming up. We should probably talk about what we want the Broncos to do in the draft. They've had a very good offseason. We'll get there. Yes, rest in peace, Screech.
Of course.
Oh, Zach from Home Improvement. I don't know if he's in jail, but I know he definitely got a DUI. Yeah, Zach Tyler. There you guys go. There you guys. Dude, Home Improvement, Saved by the Bell. Those shows basically raised me since my parents were never around.
What? What's the Home Improvement theme song?
Oh. I don't think so. Dude, I say I don't think so, Tim, to Carmi like once every other day.
She a little bit before her time.
Yeah. She'll learn. All right, thanks guys for tuning in for our Breaking Nuggets news episode.
Yep.
Holy
Don't
shit.
say that 5 times fast.
Good night.
God bless Bo Nix.
And John Elway played his entire career without an ACL.